Hello everyone, welcome back to the GT Improvement course. Today we are going to be talking about the formula for simple interest. You definitely need to know this formula for AFCT. The formula for simple interest is I equals PRT. I equals P times R times T. I call it I pretty. That's my way of remembering it, I pretty. So let's talk about what each of these letters stands for. The I stands for interest. Interest is money that you are paying or money that you are earning. So if you were paying interest, let's say you bought a car, and in order to finance that car, the bank gave you money not only for the cost of the car, but you also have to pay interest on top of that. That's how banks make their money. That's how they can afford to have these big fancy schmancy stadiums all across the country, right? Interest is money paid or money earned. Earning interest would be an example like if you had a savings account and you were earning interest on that savings account, okay? So it's money paid or money earned. The P always stands for principal. Principal is like your initial amount. So going back to the car example, if you were to finance a car, the principal would be the cost of the car. So say it was a $45,000 car, that would be the principal. And then the interest would be the money that you're paying on top of that 45 grand, okay? And it could also be an investment. Let's say you were wanting to invest $1,000 into a savings account. The $1,000 would be the principal. It's like the base amount, the original amount, okay? The next one is R. R stands for rate, which is always the percent. And the T is time. Time is always, always, always in years. Never months, never weeks. It's always in years, okay? So with iPretty, basically all you need to do is figure out which number is which in terms of a word problem and plug it into your formula. So let's do an example. So let's say you have a principal of $500. Let's say that is, let's say you're buying a computer and that computer is $500, okay? And you're financing the cost of the computer and the bank is gonna charge you a 10% interest rate, okay? And the time that they want you to pay this money back is 2 years. What amount of interest would you pay on this computer? So when I see a problem as interest, I just real quick write out my formula. I equals PRT. And then I just plug the corresponding numbers into the right places. So in this case, the I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know that one yet. The P is 500. The R is 10%. And the T is 2 years, okay? Now, just like with percent of a number, what you need to do in these problems is change the percent to a decimal. So really, this is gonna be 500 times 0.1 times 2. Now, with multiplication, it doesn't matter what order you go in. I'm gonna start with multiplying 500 times 2, because I can do that easily. That would be 1,000. And then multiply that times 0.1. And when you do that, you should get 100. So in this case, your I is $100. So when you're buying this computer, you're also paying $100 in interest on top of what the price of the computer was, okay? All right, let's go ahead and do an actual word problem. All right, so the key to knowing if a word problem requires this formula is if you see the word interest. If you see the word interest, that's the formula that you need to put down. So I see the word interest right here. I'm just going to really quick write down my formula. So let's see this problem. It says a bank is offering 2.5% simple interest on a savings account. If you deposit 5 grand, how much interest will you earn in 1 year? All right, so in this case, we are looking for the interest. It's saying how much interest, that's the question. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. The principal in this case would be this $5,000. I'm gonna plug that in. My R, that's the percent, is right here, 2.5%. And I'm just gonna real quick change that to a decimal, which would be 0.025. And then the time is 1 year, so this would just be times 1. Okay, so I'm just gonna multiply those two guys, 5,000 times 0.025. And when you do that, you should end up with $125. Now I still need to multiply that by 1, but it's just the same number, so no need. So in this case, your I equals $125. So you earned $125 on this savings account where you initially deposited $5,000. Not too bad for 1 year. Okay, so really all you have to do with these problems is write out your formula, figure out which numbers represent which letter, and then do your multiplication and solve. Okay, let's go to this next one. All right, to buy a car, Pam borrowed $15,000 for 3 years at an annual simple interest rate of 9%. How much interest will she pay if she pays the entire loan off at the end of the 3rd year? What is the total amount that she will repay? All right, so we have 2 questions here. The first question is they want us to figure out the interest, and then the second part is what is the total amount that she will repay? Okay, so we'll talk about this second. Let's calculate the interest first. So my formula is I equals PRT. I'm trying to figure out the I. In this case, the principal would be that 15 grand. The rate is 9%, which is 0.09. And then the time is going to be 3 years. Okay, I'm gonna multiply these two guys first because I can do that in my head. That's gonna be 45,000. And then I'm gonna multiply that times my 0.09. So when you do that multiplication, you end up getting $4,050. So this number represents the interest. So she borrowed 15 grand. She's having to pay $4,000 in interest on that money that she borrowed. Okay. Now the second question, what is the total amount that she will repay? So Pam not only has to pay back the principal amount, the initial amount that she borrowed, but she also has to pay back this interest amount. So to figure out the total repaid, all we're gonna do is add 15,000 and 4,050. It's the principal plus the interest, and you would get $19,050. So total repaid, and I just would like you to write this up here. Total repaid is your I plus your P. Your I plus the P, the interest plus the principal, or the principal plus the interest. Okay, that's total repaid. All right, let's go down to number 3. See if you can set this one up on your own and pause your video. All right, so I'm just gonna write my formula, I equals PRT. In this problem, we are told the interest. So I'm gonna put my $450 here. The principal is gonna be the 6,000, and the rate is 3%, which is 0.03. We are trying to figure out how long the money is invested, so that is my time. So in this case, I'm solving for T, for time. So the first thing I'm gonna do is multiply those two guys together, and when you do that, you should end up with 180. Okay, so now it's about to turn into some algebra. So 180 times T equals 450. To solve for T, you're gonna divide both sides by 180. And to make my life a little easier, I'm just gonna cancel those common zeros. And you're gonna end up doing 45 divided by 18. 18 goes into 45 2 times, that's 36. 9 left over, bring down the 0. And 18 can end up going into 90 5 times evenly. So for this question, the time is going to be 2.5 years, because remember, T is always, always, always in years. Okay? All right, let's set up number 4 together. they are trying to trick you with this part. It says he repaid a total of $10,320. Be very careful with that part. Go ahead and see if you can set this one up on your own. All right, so I'm gonna write my formula. I equals PRT. Okay, he borrowed $8,000. That is going to be my principal. My rate is what we're trying to figure out, so I'm just gonna leave that as R. And the time is 4 years. Now, this $10,320, that is not your I. That's the total repaid. And if you remember, total repaid is your interest plus your principal. Interest plus your principal. So we have to figure out what the interest is in this amount. We know the principal, it's $8,000. And total repaid is your I plus your P. So basically we have to figure out what are we adding to 8,000 to make 10,320. So to figure out that, I'm just gonna do some real quick subtraction. And when you do that, you should end up with 2320. This number here represents my interest because interest plus principal equals the total repaid. Total repaid. So the number that I'm going to put here is 2320. Okay? All right. Then we're going to multiply 8,000 times 4. That works out to 32,000 R. And I'm just going to move this guy over real quick over here. So 2320 equals 32,000 R. Now to solve for R, we have to divide both sides. I'm going to cancel common zeros. Now we're going to end up dividing. Remember, we're looking for the rate, which is a percent. We're going to end up with a decimal. So this division is going to be kind of annoying. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But, oops. But if we had the test in front of us, we would have some answer choices to work with, so it wouldn't be that difficult. Okay, so there is my decimal point. That's where it's going to be my answer. Okay, 3,200 cannot go into 232. It cannot go into 2,320. I'm gonna need another 0, but it can go into 23,200, and that works out to be 7 times. And then we do this. 21, 22. Okay, 22,400, and then we subtract 8. All right, left with 800. Okay, so now I'm going to give myself another 0 and bring that down. 3,200 can go into 8,000 2 times. That would be 6,400. 0, 0, 6, and 1, 1,600 left. And it actually can bring down another 0 here. This can go into 16,000, works out being 5 times. I know this is really annoying, sorry. And that times that works out to be 16,000 even. So here is our percentage rate. Final step is just to change that into a percent. So 0.0725 is equal to 7.25%. Now again, you would have answer choices to work with, so I highly, highly doubt you would have to go this far to figure out the answer. You could use your answer choices, okay? All right, last one. Go ahead and pause your video and see if you can set this one up. All right, for this one, I equals PRT. Our P, let's start with that. It would be the 1,000. And how much will Creed have in this account after 18 years at a simple interest rate of 3.25%? There's my rate, so that would be 0.025. 0.0325. My T is 18, and the I is what I'm trying to figure out. So I'm going to multiply those two guys first. So that would be 18,000. And then the next step would be to multiply by 0.0325. And when you do that, you end up with $585. So Creed's parents were not given good information, because basically what this is saying is that after 18 years of having this savings account, he's going to have $18,000, and then he's going to have $585 in this account. That's how much he's earned. So the total that's going to be in this account is $1,585. Creed is not going to college. He's going to have to join the military or get a job or something else, because this child is not going to college. All right, so I hope this was helpful. The next video, we're going to do 5 more of these interest problems, okay? See you there.